Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Taiwanology podcast. This is your host, Kwangyin from Taiwan's CommonWealth magazine. So Taiwan is known for the longest time for semiconductors, flashpoints, and bubble tea. But hydrogen? Not yet. As the world rethinks energy for both climate and security, Taiwan is quietly exploring whether hydrogen could be its next resilience play. Why? Because from Germany to Japan and South Korea, countries are investing billions in building a hydrogen economy. It powers buses, heats factories, stores renewable energy, and most importantly, produces zero carbon emissions at the point of use. I myself have visited Aberdeen of Scotland to witness a burgeoning hydrogen economy there, built upon a strong base of oil and gas industry. So as the EU has announced a 470 billion hydrogen plan, South Korea also wants to become a hydrogen hub by the year 2030. Even oil companies and steelmakers around the world are betting on it to decarbonize hard-to-abate sectors like steelmaking and other heavy industries. And yet, Taiwan, however, is only just beginning to step into the game. So the big question is Taiwan ready for the hydrogen economy? And can it really help build resilience for Taiwan? What role can hydrogen play in Taiwan's path to net zero? To find out, we're joined by two guests at the forefront of Taiwan's hydrogen movement. First of all is Christine Miao Huashan. She is the Vice President of Corporate Communications and Head of Hydrogen Mobility at Linde LienHwa, which is Taiwan's largest industrial gas provider and a key player in launching the island's first hydrogen fueling stations. They have partnerships between Linde LienHwa and CPC, which is the major gas provider, and Toyota. Welcome to the studio, Christine.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Okay, it's a great pleasure to have you. And also we have Toby Collins. He is the managing director of LienHwa New Energy, the group's clean energy division driving this new chapter. Welcome to the studio, Toby.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Good. Happy to meet again. I think the last time we met was at the Lien LienHwa headquarters when I was doing an interview, both of you. I think that was 2 years ago.
Yes, that was 2 years ago. I can't believe that.
Time flies.
Yeah.
And I also remember fondly, Christine, your speech at our economic forum some time ago. So that was also a blast.
Yeah, that was such a great experience. Thank you for that too.
Okay, so welcome to the show. So first of all, I don't think all of us are very familiar with hydrogen, this molecule and new energy. And also Linde LienHwa, that's quite a mouthful. So could you tell us a little bit about this group and this partnership?
Yeah, sure. I think it is a very ambiguous company for most people. I'll talk about the Linde Group first because it's such an amazing company that on the surface is so boring. It's an industrial gas company. And when I first started the company over 10 years ago, it definitely was challenging to understand it and be interested in it. But fast forward 10 years, it's one of the most incredible companies in the world because of the science involved and that we're in every single possible industry and facet of your life, from the helium in your MRIs to the bubbles in your champagne to the air in the potato chips. I think that the gas world is so unknown to people, and as is hydrogen. So it's a very interesting company. The LienHwa Group is my family's company that was started by my grandfather and is now being run by my uncle, Matthew Miao, and my father, John Miao. And so we did a joint venture with the Linde Group around the 1980s. And it's been such an amazing ride for us as the Linde Group and the Linde LienHwa Group because the semiconductor industry is a huge user of our gases. So it's been such a great ride.
So how did LienHwa go from importing wheat flour to doing industrial gas?
Oh, yeah, that's such a great story. My grandfather, after the war, came here after the Cultural Revolution, like a lot of others. And the U.S. government at that time was supporting Taiwan. And one of the things that they were doing was providing subsidies for wheat. When my grandfather got here, he realized it was a rice culture. They had no flour. And so he's from Shandong. Our family's from Shandong. So we were a mantou dumpling eating family.
So mantou is steamed buns.
Steamed white flour buns and dumplings. So he proceeded to have cooking classes and cooking schools teaching Taiwanese how to use flour. Fast forward to today, and I think one of the most famous things that we're famous for are dumplings and flour-based foods. So I definitely attribute that to my grandfather.
It's like Din Tai Fung, right?
Yeah, like Din Tai Fung. I mean, if he didn't subsidize and he didn't produce these cooking classes there, I'm not sure how much of the flour industry would be in Taiwan that it is today.
Wow. Okay. So how did he go from flour to industrial gas?
Oh, I think that was part of the beauty and the power of Taiwan and entrepreneurship. He dabbled in everything at that time, and it was such a great time to dabble in everything. Taiwan was alongside with Taiwan Formosa Plastics, and everyone was creating and building, and so I think he got into it with fish and realized that they needed to oxidize their water of their fish. And so he bought an oxygen tank or something from Japan. I think this is the story. I might be wrong. But so he became known as a gas supplier. And at that time, the Linde Group was known as the BOC, the British Oxygen Company. They were merged in 2004 to the Linde Group. But the British Oxygen Company came knocking on my uncle Matthew or my dad or grandfather's door and said, "Can we do a joint venture?" And then bam, we're now 40 plus years later, one of the most successful joint ventures and one of the largest for the Linde Group.
Right. So it sounds like this joint venture has played really crucial role in helping Taiwan's industrialization. So
Yes.
step by step, from petrochemical to maybe steel making, and also most importantly to the semiconductor high-tech industry. It sounds like it. Right. But our topic today is, strangely, hydrogen. Why should people care about hydrogen now?
So this is such a big question. I think that most everyone we know now has probably heard of the hydrogen revolution. When you and I met for our first interview 2 years ago, it was in the top of its hype and kind of fervor like wind and solar. But now, fast forward to today, we now know kind of the real visuals on it. First and foremost, hydrogen is an ingredient that can be used to decarbonize multiple industries.
Why is that?
If it's made properly with green technology, then is a carbon-free additive for steel industry, auto industry, truck industry, ship industry. For example, all the space shuttles that we use is all hydrogen. So it is a fundamental element in all fuels. So no matter what, we will be using hydrogen. And then second, I think people are thinking it's going to power electricity and power our homes. That's probably not going to happen.
Why? That makes me sad.
Well, I don't want to say it, but unless you're a country that has cheap, renewable energy, the cheapest that we have.
And a lot of it.
You can't produce green hydrogen.
Right. So it sounds like hydrogen has a lot of use scenarios. I remember doing a story on China Steel. That's the largest steel maker in Taiwan. Right now, they're still using blast furnaces, and that's highly carbon intensive, produces a lot of emissions because of the processes. And they have been experimenting using hydrogen and in a process that's called direct reduction.
Yeah. So
not going into the technical details, but there has been a lot of effort and investment in those fields as well. So I'm thinking that people in the steel industry are also expecting some progress to happen. But then I think, Christine, you mentioned something about transportation. So what's the potential for hydrogen to decarbonize transportation?
Well, yes. So I think that's how maybe I want to kind of launch into why my husband, Toby Collins, is sitting next to me.
Who also happens to be here.
Yes. And it works with us as well, which I'll let him introduce. But the reason that I fell into hydrogen is because of my husband. And so when I was learning the industrial gas industry as a family company, my husband was investing in renewable energy projects before we met in 2004. And I primarily ignored it, being a distracted wife. And it wasn't until maybe during COVID that all of a sudden hydrogen got a lot of attention. And I remembered hearing him on the phone talk about a company that was having a lot of attention. So all of a sudden I went to him and, is there a hydrogen? And then bam, it literally was like a magic, not only, that we're husband and wife, but that we had this project and we gave it to my uncle and my boss, and they were like, let's do it. Let's give Taiwan this investment. Let's provide it. And so 2 years later, but anyways, I'm going to let Toby introduce the rest of it.
So Toby also happens to be here. What's the potential for hydrogen to decarbonize and revolutionize transportation?
So my role, I have two roles. One is being Christine's husband, which is the most important role. And secondly, I founded the new energy division for the LienHwa group just under 3 years ago, and the LienHwa of the Linde LienHwa joint venture. And primarily our focus, whereas Christine is focused on the hydrogen side or the gas side of the business, we're looking more at the technology and the application side. So where she is focusing on launching the first hydrogen fueling stations, these stations obviously need vehicles to use the hydrogen fuel, specifically trucks and buses. And so that's where my focus is. And we are looking to import the first trucks to Taiwan. But more importantly,
You mean the hydrogen trucks?
Hydrogen trucks.
Okay.
Sorry, yes.
Meaning trucks that run on hydrogen instead of gasoline.
Yes. So, I can backtrack a little bit. My interest, as Christine just said, was for the last 20 years has been hydrogen fuel cell technology. And fuel cells can utilize hydrogen to create power. And also, more importantly, on trucks and vehicles is a replacement for traditional diesel engines. So we've been looking at specifically the heavy mobility market, trucks and buses, where hydrogen does make a lot of sense as an alternative source of fuel.
So when it comes to transportation, why does a hydrogen fuel cell powered truck make more sense than battery trucks? Because, when people talk about decarbonizing transportation, the first thing that comes to mind is Tesla and BYD, these battery powered vehicles. So why should we look at hydrogen?
So there's a few reasons for this. I think most importantly is about efficiency. And with trucks, weight and efficiency and distance traveled is very crucial. Mm-hmm. So if you were to use batteries in a truck, it's going to be anything from five up to 6 times heavier than using hydrogen. Hydrogen is extremely light as a fuel, as a gas. So it's significantly lighter.
That's why hydrogen trucks are superior to battery-powered trucks, because a truck should be able to carry as much cargo as possible. You don't want to be dragged down by the weight of the batteries.
Yes, and typically to get more range on a battery truck, you need to add more batteries and more weight. With a hydrogen truck, you can add more cylinders, more hydrogen, but hydrogen's weight is very, very light. So you can essentially extend the distance traveling at time on a hydrogen truck indefinitely, as long as there's space to put the cylinders.
Right, I see. So I think that brings us to why we're talking about this topic now, is because Linde LienHwa is going to launch its first demo site for hydrogen refilling station in southern Taiwan. So Christine, can you talk about that?
Yes, it's pretty much done. We, as I said earlier, the company made the great decision of creating the first demo station on our actual hydrogen production plants. At that time, and still, Taiwan does not have a hydrogen economy at all. We're different from Japan and Korea, which we'll talk about in a second. But essentially, the Taiwan government would like to see the demo and see a first hydrogen truck, and then from there, create our hydrogen economy. So Toby has brought in the first truck. It's also ready to go. It's beautiful. The hydrogen station is done. At the same time after, CPC realized too that we had to catch up to Japan and Korea and everywhere else, Germany. And so we're helping them launch theirs as well. Everything is done. We're just waiting for our license now.
Okay, so it could be any day now.
Any day. We pray. Okay. Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break. After the break, we're going to talk about how Taiwan can catch up to Germany and South Korea in terms of the hydrogen race. Welcome back to the Taiwanology podcast. This is your host, Kwangyin. I'm in the studio today with Taiwan's hydrogen power couple, Christine Miao and Toby Collins of Linde LienHwa Group. Right, so previously we just talked about how Linde LienHwa is going to launch Taiwan's first hydrogen refilling stations in southern Taiwan. And Christine, you have mentioned that there are already existing hydrogen ecosystems across the world, which include Germany and South Korea and Scotland that I also visited a few years ago. So how is Taiwan's hydrogen ecosystem compared with those in other countries? And how can Taiwan catch up?
So I think first and foremost, to address South Korea, Germany, Japan, these countries, all of them are automobile countries. So Japan, Toyota, South Korea, Hyundai, Germany, Mercedes, they have been doing this hydrogen fuel cell science for much before it was even a possibility in Taiwan.
Can we say decades?
Decades, right, exactly. So Taiwan, in a sense, isn't delayed. It's just we're not an automobile industry. And in a way, that's good because there have been a lot of big bumps along the road for both Japan and Germany and Korea. Where they stand today is that there's a very clear indication now where money was wasted and where they're now going to put the money, right? So Germany, Korea, they're really expanding on they initially started with their bus network. So England and all of these countries, these 4 countries, are pretty well developed in their hydrogen bus sector. And the rest of it is developing. So every day we're getting news reports that Mercedes is launching their first 10 Daimler Chrysler trucks. China is to have its mass production hydrogen trucks. So this is the year for trucks. But the initial starting point is buses.
Okay. So how soon can we see hydrogen-powered buses running in Taiwan? I guess maybe Toby can get into it.
Yes, so buses is making some progress in Taiwan, which is quite exciting. The government has released a subsidy program for the first 10 to 15 buses, which we hope to be on the roads by 2027 or at the very earliest 2026. And we're working on that. We're following a lot of the European models. There's already thousands of commercially operated hydrogen buses across Europe and in the UK, which is where I'm from. And so for the first buses, we'll probably look to import some of those. And then longer term, we look to manufacture these locally and hope after the first 15 buses, we can then expand that across the country.
Is LienHwa Group in charge of manufacturing the buses?
So LienHwa Group is not historically in automotive manufacturing, but we are aligning and partnering with some key vehicle assemblers in Taiwan right now.
Right, so very exciting. I'm hoping to see how those buses are made in Taiwan. So I'm looking forward to that. So Christine, we talked briefly about decarbonizing industry with hydrogen. So can you just share with us which industries in Taiwan could benefit from, for example, green hydrogen and how much hydrogen they use?
Yes, I think this is a really critical question because I think people need to understand that the world consumes vast hundreds of millions of tons of hydrogen per year, and it's all being produced with fossil fuels. And then also, if we were to make green hydrogen, it is a definite place of decarbonization. But unfortunately, that comes with the understanding that green has to be cheap. So unless Taiwan can produce cheap energy, we can't even be talking about decarbonizing sectors like steel or things like this. They will have to find other alternatives. If we had cheap green energy and could make green hydrogen easily and cheaply, it could be used in all sorts of decarbonization sectors, from steel, like you said, to burn rather than using iron or cement or food making, right? All of these things need green hydrogen, especially food, right? We're producing so much with hydrogen. So I think that is the most critical part for responsibility for us, as well as, for example, semiconductors. They use hundreds of tons of hydrogen a year, and that number is growing. Our factories of hydrogen are the fastest growing factories right now, and unfortunately, they're all using methane. Unless Taiwan can offer us a solution, this is a very big problem for Taiwan. We are consuming huge amounts of LNG to produce hydrogen in the semiconductor world. And I hope that sees an end, but that won't see an end unless things happen or don't happen.
Right. So LNG is a liquid natural gas, and burning that is unfortunately carbon emitting. So that's not going to help climate change.
It's not just that. When they extract LNG, the methane that comes out is so much worse than the greenhouse gases just from diesel. So for me, hearing us switching to LNG is actually more painful than you can possibly imagine. We're killing our Earth even faster than with the extreme LNG decisions that are being made by governments today.
Right. There are a lot of challenges that you have mentioned. So what kind of, in your opinion, government policies or regulations can change or improve if we want to facilitate the development of hydrogen economy in Taiwan?
So yes, we definitely need more government support with everything, but there's two very encouraging areas which they are showing support. One is the buses, which I already mentioned, and the other one is fuel cell power applications, where the government is offering subsidies to use fuel cells as an alternative power source in certain sectors.
For vehicles or?
Oh, no, sorry. For things like decentralized power for places like data centers and energy storage, but also areas in science parks and data centers that require huge amounts of energy. They can no longer rely solely on the grid, and they are being encouraged or forced to look at their own power solutions. Fuel cells is a viable lower carbon emitting solution for the future, and they can run on hydrogen or also waste hydrogen as well.
Right. So you're saying that there's progress, but what are the aspects that you think Taiwan's regulatory infrastructure could change if we want to make it easier for a hydrogen ecosystem to emerge?
Yes, for the government's already made a good first step with the subsidies on the buses, but we need to look at the whole value chain. So we need subsidies on the hydrogen fuel. We also need subsidies on the hydrogen fueling station, which has been invested into by Linde LienHwa. And I think to add to that, public awareness and education is going to be critical. So we are looking to continue to educate the governments and also the industries, but also the students in the high schools and universities of the benefits of hydrogen, and to encourage them to look at the hydrogen solutions of the future.
Right. In terms of awareness, what's the challenge now? Because from the media stories that we have read, it looks like some people are worried about the safety of, for example, hydrogen refueling stations. There are many news coverage of, how dangerous it is. How can people be made more aware of the benefits rather than the danger of hydrogen?
Okay, as Linde, the Linde Group is the number one in safety for gases. I do want to take this question on because it is such a good topic. I think everyone is worried about safety in general for lithium batteries, EV vehicles, hydrogen, and oil. Everything is dangerous. Oil is dangerous. Everything is dangerous and flammable when it comes to energy and fuel in these areas. So I think that the way that you can reduce accidents in either batteries, EV, and hydrogen is to, again, wait patiently for us giant corporations to ensure that our technology is constantly up to date. As of right now, this is our main focus, just as it is for oil and gas companies, not to have oil spills, right? And not to have gas explosions. It's our responsibility to make sure that the safety of our gases is ensured for everyone. So is it dangerous? It is. But is it comparatively more or less dangerous to gas and diesel? And no, it's pretty much the same, in that sense.
I think a good showcase is that there are already hundreds, if not thousands, of hydrogen refilling stations across Europe and Korea.
Yeah.
And people are using them every day, right?
Yes.
And so I think the demo hydrogen refilling stations in Tainan that is going to be operated by Linde LienHwa, we will see very soon cars going there to refuel.
Buses and trucks.
Buses and trucks.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I think the world has accepted that the passenger vehicle market is EV. The infrastructure is there. It's done very well. But they've also acknowledged now that the large vehicle sector is for hydrogen and airport and shipping and things like this. So in that sense, it's clear now.
Okay, I see. So buses is what we're hoping to see very soon.
And trucks. I think that what I want to say is Taiwan's air pollution is created by these buses and trucks and diesel. I mean, if you drive on the freeway, it's really gross to roll down your window. So if we could eliminate 30,000 trucks off the road, I'd say we would improve air quality here by 30%. I don't know, but I'm guessing a large amount. I mean, China's air quality is better than ours because they've managed to adopt the hydrogen refueling stations too. So I think that's positive.
Right. Okay. So I think that would make a lot of people happy.
Yes.
So finally, how will the hydrogen business fit into the future strategy of LienHwa MyTech's group?
So I'll start it, and I'll of course have my husband finish with that one. I think we are the hydrogen business right now, currently, and our hydrogen core business is just growing as industrial use hydrogen. But the Linde LienHwa group has Toby Collins, and we're going to be now finally introducing hydrogen applications. So Honey, would you like to?
So yes, LienHwa New Energy, we're looking at the whole value chain in hydrogen, specifically fuel cells and vehicles and different applications. I think the most important thing that keeps coming up is cost and availability. And so everything we're doing, we're trying to localize as much as possible. So we're trying to localize trucks in Taiwan and buses in Taiwan, hydrogen trucks and hydrogen buses, as well as the fuel cell, all done locally. When done locally, we can significantly reduce costs. And then obviously with hydrogen as well, hydrogen is also, to reduce costs on hydrogen, it has to be localized as much as possible. So we need to create hydrogen near a hydrogen fueling station, near the source, and then provide the hydrogen cost effectively to the vehicles that are locally assembled in Taiwan. If we get all this right, we can then be a competitive solution to existing diesel vehicles on the road today.
Right. Thanks, Toby. I think that wraps up this interview really nicely because localization also helps build resilience. And I think that's a very important lesson for all of us across all industries, especially in Taiwan. So Christine and Toby, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So if you enjoy the show, please leave us a review or drop us an email. We'd love to hear from you. For deeper insights into how Taiwan is working hard in decarbonizing its industry, check out the CommonWealth English website. The next episode will be available June 24th. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and talk to you soon.